The Venezuelan government announced that the country registered 1,786 new COVID-19 infections in the last 24 hours. The parliament in Kosovo has elected Vjosa Osmani-Sadriu as new president. Jordan's foreign minister has accused the country's former crown prince of conspiring with foreign elements in an incitement that threatened national security. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. The government of Venezuela announced this Sunday that the country registered 1,786 new COVID-19 infections in the last 24 hours. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez explained that the total of new infections, 1,779, were transmitted locally, while 7 were imported. The total number of infections since the start of the pandemic amounts to more than 164,000. Rodriguez also announced the death of 15 people, which brings to more than 1,600 the death toll in the country.
And vaccination still do not have the impact that COVID gave to humanity. There is a shortage of vaccine, and there is a vaccine war in the world. A vaccine war to prevent vaccine from reaching our southern countries. Pope Francis spoke it today at his Resurrection Sunday Mass in Rome, calling on the world to have the floodgates and vaccine reach the countries of Latin America, the Caribbean, Africa, Asia, the countries of the South, a brutal war for vaccines.
On other issues, President Maduro called for zero tolerance against irregular armed groups in Colombia that seeks to hinder the country's stability.
I call for the absolute and total support of the people of Venezuela for our glorious Bolivarian National Armed Force. Zero tolerance for the irregular armed groups, drug traffickers and terrorists of Colombia. Zero tolerance. All rules will be taken out of the country. Venezuela is respect. Venezuela is a land of peace, of noble people, territory of Bolivar, of liberators.
President Nicolas Maduro also highlighted the support requested by Foreign Minister Jorge Raza to Secretary General of the UN Antonio Guterres to deactivate anti-personnel mines placed by the regular armed groups in the border with Colombia.
That is why the Chancellor of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Jorge Raza, is addressing a communication to the Secretary General Antonio Guterres of the United Nations to request immediate emergency assistance from the United Nations system to bring all the technology to defuse the minefield left by these irregular groups of murderers and drug traffickers from Colombia. If drug trafficking and the war of Colombia exported a peaceful territory unlike the Venezuelan.
The Chilean Senate approved the bill for the postponement of the municipal, regional and constituent elections for the upcoming month of May, given the health situation due to COVID-19. With 40 votes in favor and 2 abstentions, the Senate approved the bill proposed by President Sebastián Piñera to postpone these elections until 15 and 16 May, delaying the runoff election of governors to June 13 and finally postponing the primaries for the presidential election to July 18th. The Senate must now debate on Monday the bill for definitive adoption. Likewise, the Senate approved during the Sunday's session in general the government's project that establishes financial aid for the middle class in the middle of the quarantine due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In Mexico, the electoral campaigns of 10 political parties began ahead of the federal elections on June 6. Polls from the firm Miraculous estimate that Morena, the party of the President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, will maintain control of the Chamber of Deputies with 42% of the votes, above National Action with 17% and followed by the Institutional Revolutionary Party with 16% support. At least 94 million Mexicans will be called for vote for 506 in the Chamber of Deputies, and nearly 20,000 state posts will be elected in total, including 15 out of 32 governors. The body of 36-year-old Salvadoran woman who died at the hands of Mexican police have arrived in El Salvador. The coffin with Victoria Salazar's remains landed in the country 1 week after her death and is escorted by police to a funeral parlor in Western Sonsonate department. Salazar died on Saturday after being detained by the police in Tulum, a Mexican resort town on the Yucatan Peninsula. Autopsy showed that her neck had been broken. Police opened an investigation into the incident, which resulted in the arrest of 3 policemen and 1 policewoman. They were all charged with femicide. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. In Kosovo, the parliament has elected Vjosa Osmani-Sadriu as new president. Osmani-Sadriu is Kosovo's second female leader in the post-war era and will serve for a 5-year term. She was backed by the left-wing self-determination movement, which won Kosovo's February 14th early election. Her role will largely be ceremonial, but she also has a leading position in foreign policy, and she is the commander of the armed forces. And resuming normalization talks with former war enemy Serbia is a priority in her list.
I swear that I will put all my power in preserving the independence, the sovereignty, and the territorial integrity of the Republic of Kosovo, to ensure human and citizens' rights, to respect and preserve the Constitution, to defend peace and welfare for all citizens of Kosovo. I will do my duty with responsibility and consciousness, I swear.
Bulgarians have gone to the polls to elect a new parliament after months of anti-government protest. The vote is widely seen as a referendum on center-right Prime Minister Boyko Borisov, who hopes to win a 4th term in office. Support for Borisov at home and abroad began to erode after thousands took to the streets accusing his government of meddling with oligarchs, failing to eliminate graft and poverty, and overhaul the judicial system. Still, opinion polls suggest that while the vote may produce a fragmented parliament that will struggle to elect a new government, Borisov's party will end up as the biggest in the chamber.
This moment is decisive for Bulgaria. Please vote and don't let anybody else decide your future and the future of your children.
The former French minister and scandal-ridden tycoon Bernard Tapie has been beaten up along with his wife during a burglary. Tapie, the former owner of Adidas, and his wife were asleep when 4 men broke into their house outside Paris just past midnight. They were beaten up and tied up with electrical cords before the burglars ransacked their house in search for valuables. His wife, Dominique, managed to free herself and called the police. The burglars made off with 2 watches, earrings, bracelets, and a ring. Tapie was found guilty in a string of cases of corruption, tax fraud, and misuse of corporate assets. He went to prison for 5 months and was stripped of the right to stand in any election in France.
They were woken up in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning by 4 individuals who attacked them with extreme violence, who hit them, who tied them up, who pulled her by the hair, because obviously there was treasure somewhere and they had to find it. But there is no treasure. I think that their violence was all the stronger because they didn't get anything, because overall there wasn't much to take.
The Democratic Republic of Congo has hosted foreign ministers from Ethiopia, Egypt, and Sudan in Kinshasa to resume negotiations with the Ethiopian mega dam on the Blue Nile. The Great Renaissance Dam is seen as a vital hydroelectric plant for Ethiopia, but is perceived as a threat by Egypt and Sudan.
This solemn and special occasion of the continuation of the tripartite negotiations between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan on the issue of the Great Renaissance Dam, I would like to express my gratitude to all your delegations for having accepted the invitation of the Democratic Republic of Congo and the African Union, our mother organization, even going so far as to brave the risk associated with the COVID-19 pandemic that is raging throughout the world, in the name of the higher interest of the search for peace, convivial, friendly, and fraternal understanding and cooperation between sister countries and peoples.
And the African Union Center for Disease Control and Prevention has acquired additional 400 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines. The institution's director, John Kenganson, announced that they have signed a contract with the vaccine company Johnson & Johnson to supply the doses to the African nations. Countries continue to record a steady increase in new COVID-19 cases, with an at least 3% increase around the continent over the past 4 weeks. Libya has received its first batch of Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccines. A shipment of more than 100,000 doses of the Russian vaccine landed at Tripoli's main airport on Sunday. Libya's Ministry of Health said it is the first shipment of vaccines to reach the country. Around 1,000 new infections are registered daily by the National Center for Disease Control, posing a challenge to a health sector ravaged by years of conflict. Libya has recorded almost 200,000 infections since the beginning of the pandemic and nearly 2,700 fatalities. Jordan's foreign minister has accused the country's former crown prince of conspiring with foreign elements in an incitement that threatened national security. Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi also said that the plot had been foiled and that some 16 people are under arrest.
His Highness Prince Hamza broadcast of 2 recorded messages in Arabic and English is another attempt to distort the facts and evoke local and foreign sympathy, and reflecting his intentions and reality of the activities carried out a while ago, which include incitement and work to mobilize citizens against the country, which unacceptably touches national security. Jordanian security apparatus also monitor the person who has connections with foreign security apparatus and with the wife of Prince Hamza. Yesterday at 3:35 p.m., they offered their services at her disposal and offered to provide her with a plane so she could immediately fly and leave Jordan to travel to a foreign country. This presents another indication for involvement of foreign elements in suspicious activities that have been thwarted to protect the security of Jordan and its stability.
And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us.